Hello, welcome to Bob's Dungeon. My name is Bob, I'll be your host. And it's the month of October, and usually in October I like to look at different horror games and stuff. But this month for October, we're going to take that theme a little further. We're going to look at all kinds of vampire stuff. Still horror, but a little bit more themed. And we're going to kick things off with Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. This book has 398 pages and a copyright of 2018. It was published by Modifius Entertainment, and all the artwork in this book is in full color, and it goes between hand-drawn art and actual photographs. So let's go ahead and look at that artwork. All of the artwork in this book is in full color, and it's pretty decent, utilizing both photography as seen in this picture as well as hand-drawn art as seen in this picture here. All in all, however, the artwork in this book does set a proper tone and mood for this game. To play this game, what you're going to need is, of course, a copy of this core rulebook and as many 10-sided dice as you can get your hands on, preferably of two different colors, but we'll get to that. Making a character in this game is pretty easy. If you're familiar with the older editions of Vampire the Masquerade, then this shouldn't be very hard for you. But they changed things up a little bit, and we'll get into that now. The first thing you'll do is you'll pick a clan to belong to, and it uses the same clans as the earlier editions of Vampire the Masquerade. You have the Bruja, the Gangrel, the Malkavians, the Nosferatu, the Toreador, the Tremere, the Ventru, and they don't include any of the bloodlines in here. So if you want those, there's another book that's out that actually has that. I believe it's the Vampire the Masquerade Player's Guide, but I don't have that book yet. But they do have two other groups that you could pick. They got the Catif, which are clanless vampires, and then they have Thin Bloods. And Thin Bloods are very far removed from the vampire's progenitor, Cain, so they're very weak. But we'll get to that. After you got your clan, you'll figure up your attributes. There are 9 attributes broken up into 3 sets. 3 attributes and 3 sets. They are your charisma, your manipulation, your composure, your strength, your dexterity, your stamina, your intelligence, your wits, and your resolve. And they all range from 1 dot to 5 dots. Now, they do something a little bit different when figuring out how to come up with your attributes in this. In this, the 5th edition, you'll pick one of your attributes, and it'll be at 4 dots. You'll pick 3 of your attributes at 3 dots, 4 attributes at 2 dots, and the remaining attribute will remain at 1 dot. And that's your attributes. After that, you'll figure up your health. Your health is your stamina plus 3. Your starting willpower is your composure plus your resolve. And then you'll figure up your skills. And the skills work just the way they did in the earlier editions. They range in dots from 0 to 5. But the way you figure them up in this is a little bit different. You pick a kind of like a skill program. You have the jack of all traits, you have balanced, and you have specialist. And each of these tells you how many dots for what kind of skills you get. And it's explained in here. But after you got those figured up, for every you'll get specialties for certain skills. For your academics, for your craft, for your profession, and your science skills, you'll get 1 free specialty. You also get to pick a free specialty for any skill you want. 1. And after you got that, you'll figure out your disciplines. And each of the clans have a number of disciplines tied to them that they're known for. And you'll pick 2 of those disciplines, and one of them will start at 2 dots, and the other one will start at 1 dot. After you got your disciplines figured out, you'll pick a predator type. And this tells you how your vampire hunts, what kind of victims he prefers to feed from, that kind of thing. And this will give you some more specialties for your skills. It'll also give you 1 more dot in another discipline, and you'll also get some advantages and flaws. After that, you'll figure out your advantages and flaws. You get 7 advantages and 2 flaws, and there are some backgrounds in here for you to pick them from. And then you figure out your connections and your touchstones. And this game presents a map so you can figure out the social interactions of people you know and the other players and yourself and stuff. And it's confusing to me, but there's a lot of people that swear by it, I guess. But those will fit onto there. After you have that, you'll figure out the last part of your character, which is what generation is he going to be. And vampires rank their power in what's called generation. And first generation is the first vampire, and that would be Cain. And as you go away, each generation has a larger number. And in the old World of Darkness, it was figured out that all the starting characters start at 13th gen, but you could buy a background called Generation, which will lower it, and it can be taken all the way down to 8 through that. They scrapped that in here. Now, in this, the players and the game master get together and they talk about their characters and where they're going to start at. And you figure out how old they all are and then assign a generation through that. And everybody is to agree on it and stuff. So this keeps the players' generation much closer together instead of you having a big gap. And that's kind of nifty. But the older they are, the more experience points that they'll get at character creation to increase some of their character stats. Now, the younger they are, fewer experience to spend at character creation, which sounds weird. But after that, your characters are pretty much done. Now, they do change some of the rules up a little bit in this 5th edition, which is to be expected. And we'll get into that in a minute. But 5th edition is a weird game for me. I kind of want to play it. I got out of the old World of Darkness a long time ago. And after reading through this, I kind of want to jump into this and get back into the old World of Darkness. Because this is the old World of Darkness. They just advanced the storyline and added some new rules and changed things up a little bit, which is cool. We'll get to those. So it makes a good jumping on point if you've never played Vampire the Masquerade before. And it is a good place to go, I think, if you are experienced with it. My problem with this game is I've run into the same situation I ran into with Vampire the Requiem. None of the players in any of my groups want to play 5th edition Vampire the Masquerade. They want to stick with the older editions. So I guess I'm not returning to the old World of Darkness anytime soon. But anyway, the changes for this game are kind of nifty. The first thing they did was you no longer have a blood pool. And your blood pool is a number of blood points that you can spend to activate your disciplines, wake up at night, and heal and stuff. They got rid of that. but they replaced it with a system called hunger. And as your character gets hungrier, things get worse for him. But when you go to activate a discipline or heal or anything that requires blood to be used, you make a hunger check. If you succeed, you do not get any hungrier, and you're able to roll to see if you can roll to see if you can succeed at whatever you're doing with your blood. If you fail, the power still activates. You can still roll to see if you can get it to go, but you get hungrier. You take a step hungrier. And as you get hungrier, on your normal dice pulls, you'll change your dice to another color so you can tell them apart. And if you roll a success or a critical success on one of those hunger dice, then icky things can happen to your character. You succeed, but it's gory. Now, the rules themselves are pretty much the same as the old Vampire the Masquerade. You take an attribute and a skill, you add their dots together, and that tells you how many 10-sided dice you'll roll to complete the task you're doing. And you'll have a difficulty that you need to make. And that works exactly the same as the old ones. Now, another thing they changed in here is your disciplines. Disciplines are pretty much the same disciplines, but the way disciplines used to work is they'd range from 1 to 5 dots, and each dot was a specific power. You got a couple that didn't have specific powers to their dots, but they added their dots directly to an attribute. And they changed all that in here. For each dot in your disciplines, even the ones that were just add-ons, there are now several powers linked to each dot. When you get your first dot in a discipline, you can pick one of the 1-dot powers listed with that discipline. When you get 2 dots in that discipline, you can either pick a rank 2 dot power from that discipline or one of the 1-dot powers that you skipped before. When you get 3 dots, you can pick a 3-dot power, a 2-dot power that you skipped before, or another 1-dot power that you skipped before, and so forth. Now, some people might not like that, but I think it's a really cool idea because you can have 2 or 3 vampires with the same discipline and they can do completely different things with that discipline, which is very cool. Now, that's pretty much the big changes in the game. And I mean, there are a few others, but they're not as important as those. The Vampire the Masquerade wrapped up years ago, and they had their end war with the Sabbat and the Camarilla coming together and fighting each other and everything ending. Well, this book continues things on from there. It's years later. Apparently things weren't done and over with. They just kept going. Their end fight is still going. The Sabbat has pretty much packed up and moved overseas to go after the originators of the clans and pretty much make everybody bloodlines. Now, to protect themselves, the elders, they put out a call, and all the lower generation vampires that were around pretty much packed up and went after the Sabbat. So you wound up having a lot of power vacuums everywhere. And it is extremely rare that you'll ever run into a vampire now here in the United States lower than 10th gen. And because all the older ones went to go fight in the war. Now, this left, like I said, a lot of gaps in the leadership, and things started falling apart. But at least they didn't have the Sabbat to worry about. But things did get worse for the Camarilla. because for years they had a truce and a kind of working together with the Anarchs. And now that the Sabbat are gone, the Anarchs are like, why do we need you? And they split off and now are doing their own thing. The Anarchs and the Sabbat, the Anarchs and the Camarilla aren't at war with each other, at least not completely openly. But there are a lot of tensions, and it's kind of like a Cold War standoff thing. Everybody's gotten their finger over the button, ready to go at the drop of a hat. So everybody's trying to piece together their own things now that the adults are gone, so to speak. Well, on top of that, another big problem the vampires have now is a lot of their food is starting to hunt them back. And this is the Second Inquisition. Now, where before it was all controlled by the church, so they pretty much knew where they were coming from and stuff. And this, they're getting hit by all sides. Different churches, government groups, privately owned groups, and none of them are actually working together, but they're all working at the same goal. It's weird. So they're fighting on multiple fronts. So now more than ever, the Masquerade is very important. And those are the really big changes. There's a character sheet in the back of the book that you can photocopy and use for your game. And it's got a lot of stuff in here of different bad guys and story ideas you can use for your games. The other big thing, before I forget completely, is you got the Thin Bloods in here. The Thin Bloods are vampires that are like 15th gen, 16th gen, and so forth. And their blood is so weak that they don't get to use disciplines like normal vampires. They got a form of blood alchemy that they use that can replicate specific effects from the regular vampire disciplines. And they also have stuff that they can do through their alchemy that the regular vampires can't. So that's kind of nifty. The problem with them is regular vampires want them hunted down and destroyed because they think they're abominable for being so weak-blooded. So they got that going for them. But all in all, it's pretty neat. I would like to try it out sometime if I could find players for it. But like I said, my players treat it like they treated Vampire the Requiem, which was not good, but which they treated not well. But it is a good jumping on point if you've never played Vampire the Masquerade before. Which brings me to 3 questions. Would I play a character in this game? And if I could ever find somebody that was going to run it, then yeah, I think it'd be a good point for me to jump back into the old World of Darkness. Because that's what this is essentially, is the old World of Darkness. Now, would I run this game? Given the chance, if I could find players, yeah, I'd come back to the old World of Darkness to try this out. Would I recommend this game? And I recommend it, but though I do know there's a lot of people that have been very hesitant to play it. They want to stick with the old and kick the new out. But if you've never played Vampire the Masquerade, like I said, it is a good place to start. But yeah, I'd recommend it. And that's pretty much all I got to say for Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition right now. Thank you for joining me at a look at this book. And hopefully you'll join me next time where we'll talk about something else. Bye.